Welcome to KMUZ Theater Talk. I'm Ann McBride. Co-host Ed Shopes and I are here the first and third Fridays of the month to tell you all about what's happening in the Mid-Willamette Valley theater world. Happy New Year, Ed!
And Happy New Year to you, Ann. I hope you're recovering from your cold. You still sound a little squeaky.
Well, it's better than I did sound.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're on the mend. And welcome, fellow theater lovers, to our first KMUZ Theater Talk program of the new year. We've got a great show to kick off 2024, which promises to be a really great year for local theaters. Director Joe Dodge will join us today to talk about Brighton Beach Memoirs, one of Neil Simon's best comedies, which will kick off Pentacle's 70th anniversary season on January 12th. And we'll cover the many fun new shows that will be opening soon at theaters throughout the Mid-Willamette Valley. And why don't you start us off with the Theater Talk calendar?
Okay. Albany Civic Theater at albanycivic.org. Coming up at Albany Civic Theater on January 26th through February 10th, The Great Gatsby. And we'll have an interview about that show with director Lorianne Schmidt on our January 19th KMUZ Theater Talk program and podcast. And they are having auditions for the musical The Prom, January 8th through 10th. Go to the website and click on the Get Involved link for information and an audition form.
Brush Creek Playhouse at brushcreekplayhouse.com has sadly lost a member, Sharon Jensen Messman. She was a founding member who recently served on the board of directors at Brush Creek Playhouse, and we join the theater community in mourning her passing.
Children's Educational Theater at cetsalem.org. Online registrations are open January 15th for CET's 5-week summer theater experience for ages 8 through high school. Go to CET's website to avoid the last-minute rush to secure a spot for your kiddos.
The Elsinore Theater is at elsinoretheater.com. For information about the many local events and touring shows that are on stage at the Elsinore, go to their website and Facebook page.
Gallery Theater at gallerytheater.org. The Most Massive Woman Wins, directed by Mary Smalley Akoff, runs at Gallery Theater January 26th through 28th. And auditions for Anastasia the Musical are January 16th and 17th. Go to Gallery Theater, and that's er.org/auditions for more information and to sign up.
Kaiser Homegrown Theater at kaiserhomegrowntheater.org. Boeing opens Kaiser Homegrown Theater's 2024 season, February 9th through 25th. This farce is about an American living in Paris who is engaged to 3 different flight attendants, all on different airlines. Now, Bernard has their schedules set so only one is with him at a time until it all goes wrong. Get your tickets at the Kaiser Homegrown Theater website. And auditions for 2 shows at Kaiser Homegrown Theater, Silent Sky by Lauren Gunderson and The Lifespan of a Fact by Jeremy Carrigan and David Murrell and Gordon Farrell are set for January 27th. See the Kaiser Homegrown Theater website for audition information.
The Majestic Theater is on Facebook and at majestic.org. Auditions for the first show of the season, Zazie Sings by Faylee Mateus, are January 8th and 9th with callbacks on January 10th. Zazie Sings will hit the stage in Corvallis on February 9th and 10th.
Pentacle Theatre at pentacletheatre.org kicks off their 70th anniversary season this year with one of Neil Simon's best comedies, Brighton Beach Memoirs, directed by Joe Dodge. It plays January 12th through February 3rd. Joe joins us later in today's program to tell us how much this show means to her. Auditions for the modern comedy Ripcord by David Lindsay Abaire will be held January 27th at Pentacle Theatre. The casting call is for an ensemble of actors able to play 3 male presenting and 3 female presenting roles. For more info, go to pentacletheatre.org/auditions. Ripcord plays April 19th through May 1st. And Joe Dodge's acting workshop for actors 18 and older is at Pentacle Theatre's rehearsal studio in downtown Salem. Now's the time to sign up for the first session of 2024. Go to tickets.pentacletheatre.org.
The Salem Playhouse also offers acting classes for both kids and adults at Kaiser Homegrown Theater and adult classes at Chemeketa Community College. To sign up, go to thesalemplayhouse.com and click on the Classes tab.
Spotlight Community Theater is at spotlightcommunitytheater.org. Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, adapted by Michael L. Vaca and directed by Shannon Rempel, plays February 8th through 18th at Spotlight, and that's followed May 9th through 19th by Much Ado Out West, a new show written by Wade Bradford, which is also directed by Shannon Rempel.
Now to the colleges. Corbin University at corbin.edu/theater-arts. Coming up in March, Corbin will stage Sleeping Beauty, Briar Rose.
Western Oregon University is at wou.edu/theater. A beautiful show, Spring Awakening, runs February 29th through March 9th at Western. It's directed by Michael Phillips. And May 29th through June 1st, John Proctor is the Villain will be on stage at the Rice Auditorium, and that show is directed by Riza Fleming.
Willamette University at wutheater.com is presenting Too Much Light Makes the Baby Go Blind, 30 plays in 60 minutes by Greg Allen, directed by Jonathan Cole. And it plays February 15th through 25th at the Pelton Theater on Willamette's campus in Salem. That's followed by Brian Friel's Dancing at Lunasa, directed by Susan Coramel, April 11th through 27th.
At the high schools, McKay High School on Facebook at McKay Thespians has student-directed one acts on stage at McKay January 19th and 20th, and the spring musical at McKay will be Little Shop of Horrors, and that runs May 10th through 18th.
McNary High School, it's on Facebook at Ken Collins Theater. The pop musical Mamma Mia will be on stage in the Ken Collins Theater January 25th through February 3rd.
Let's check North Salem High School. They're on Facebook at NSHS Theater. Tuck Everlasting will be on stage at North April 11th through 20th. And Sense and Sensibility plays at North Salem High May 23rd through 25th.
South Salem High School, it's on Facebook at Saxon Drama. South Salem High's annual student-written, produced, and performed 24-hour theater short shows happens on January 20th. And The Alibis plays at South February 29th through March 2nd. Coming March 8th and 9th is an evening of original devised works.
At Sprague High School, Bye Bye Birdie is on stage February 22nd through March 2nd. And they have one act happening on April 11th through 20th.
Staten High School on Facebook at Staten High School Theater. Staten's spring musical, Mamma Mia, happens March 1st through 3rd.
And at West Salem High School on Facebook at West Salem Drama Department, the semester showcase is at West Salem High, January 25th, followed by Improva Java on February 8th. And the Shakespeare favorite, Much Ado About Nothing, takes the stage at West Salem High on February 29th through March 2nd.
That wraps up our KMUZ Theater Talk calendar for plays around the Mid-Willamette Valley.
Coming up next, Ann and I talk with director Joe Dodge about the first play of Pentacle Theatre's 70th season, the Neil Simon comedy Brighton Beach Memoirs. We'll be right back with more theater talk in just a moment.
We're speaking with Joe Dodge, director and so much more, of Brighton Beach Memoirs, opening January 12th at the Pentacle Theatre. Welcome to Theater Talk, again, Joe.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Joe, we go back a ways in Pentacle Theatre, and you've directed many, many shows, lots of Neil Simons. Tell us what you really love about Brighton Beach Memoirs.
Well, the wonderful part, my history with it was that I played Kate, the mother, in 1988 when at the theater, we agreed to do Neil Simon's autobiographical trilogy. Brighton Beach Memoirs was the first of that trilogy, and I was in it. When I was thinking of directing the start of next year's season, I thought, what a wonderful way to start the season with a Neil Simon, one of his greatest plays. And because I was in it, I never saw it. So I thought, well, directing it, it's a whole different thing. And so now it was a whole new experience. That's why I chose it.
This is a comedy, obviously, from Neil Simon's point of view, about his 15-year-old self dealing with the vagaries of being a teenager before he became a famous writer. Tell us a little bit about the plot of this show and how Simon tells his story and who some of the people in his family are that play such a large role in his life.
Well, he's 15, going through puberty, which is a lot of the humor in the show, a 15-year-old boy developing into a man. And the play includes his parents, Jack and Kate, and a brother, Stanley, who is 18 and a half years old. And it's 1937, Brighton Beach, Brooklyn, New York. The Depression was kind of on their tail. Nobody has any money. They're poor, but they are a strong family. And Kate's sister, Blanche, loses her husband. He dies 6 years prior. And Blanche, with her two daughters, Nora, who is 16, and Lori, who is 13, move in. So now you have two families in one small house, and there's lots of comedy to go around with teenagers as well as the times and all like that. Neil Simon's character, Eugene is his name in the play, narrates the play. He makes friends with the audience as another character in the play, the audience. So he talks to the audience all through the play. And this boy has enormous imagination and just this most delightful child. The challenge for me as a director was to find a child who could do this play, and the audience needs to fall in love immediately, which guaranteed we found that person. Porter DeBacker plays Eugene. He's in life a 14-year-old, and just all I can say is, please come see this child. He's amazing. And then the family, it's family humor, but in the background, there's the threat of World War II starting. And the family, the relatives, are from Poland. So it includes some of the history that happened in those years, in the late 30s.
Well, this is one of the things that I really like about Neil Simon's pieces is he really writes from his own experience.
Absolutely. You know what I say to my cast and crew? Listen, we have to open our minds and hearts to Neil Simon because he really takes care of us. He answers all the questions. Honestly, it's such a pleasure to direct a play like that because the subtext is right there for us to treat well and give it to the audience. It's amazing. He really is. He takes care of all of it. And then the trilogy continues to Biloxi Blues, which is him going into the army, which was what really happened to Neil Simon. And that play is him in the army with no family around. And the third is Broadway Bound, which speaks for itself. He always wanted to be a writer. In fact, in Brighton Beach, he is keeping his journal and he speaks to the audience about being a writer. All through the play, he kind of shares with the audience what he's writing about. And there's comedy in that as well. Neil Simon, I know that he has been successful playwright, but the degree of detail and completeness of any of his plays is there. It's there. If you want it, just take it.
Well, tell us a little bit about the setting of the play itself.
The setting is the Jerome household, and they speak of the fact that when Blanche and the girls moved in, they split the boys' room, Stanley and Eugene's room, and the girls got one half and the boys stayed in the other half. And then, of course, the other bedrooms are not seen by the audience. And then they have the living room and the kitchen. The kitchen is not seen, but used extensively throughout the play. And there's a yard. A lot of scenes are played there as well.
What was the set when you did it?
You know, I try to rack my brain and I can't remember. It was 1988. My memory on all the work I've done at Pentacle is quite vivid in many, many ways. A lot of them, who was in the play and who directed and all that stuff. But for some reason, I cannot remember the set of this play because it takes place again in Broadway Bound, and I played Kate in the first and the third, the same family, in other words.
Oh,
the
dear.
same Eugene, the same family is in the third, the first and the third. The middle one is Biloxi Blues and no family, just Eugene.
So think back, has anything changed in your view of the play since you first were introduced to the play and the characters?
Well, you know, it's a funny thing. Only one other time in my experience at Pentacle, or not true, 2 times, I never repeated a show directing, except twice I did, Elephant Man and Gypsy, but never did I repeat directing. When I'm in a play, the outlook, the whole experience is completely different than directing it. In directing, you have to become all the characters. You have to become the sound, the lighting, the costumes, everything. It's like an entire project, and it isn't me trying to remember what I was like doing Kate. That was it. It is definitely like a different play. It is not the same play at all. So I'm just saying that in this case, I didn't direct it. I was in it. And so, no, it doesn't interfere with the direction of it, if that makes sense. Because a director has a vision along with the cast, and you're one part of it, as opposed to directing being all of it. I don't know if that makes sense, but it worked for me. In fact, recently I was in Over the River and Through the Woods in, I think, 2012. Then I was asked to direct it after COVID, and I thought, well, I don't remember being in Over the River was me in it, and it was not a problem for me to direct it, and did a completely different everything, because I don't. It's a different thought process, I guess. Being in a play and directing.
So this play, at this point in time, it's kind of a love letter to Neil Simon, looking back on his life. What do you think modern audiences are going to appreciate and take away from this production?
That's a good question. I am of the age that I was 2 years old when 1937. So my whole history of my knowledge of the period of time is very keenly remembered by me, so that I have a lot of connection with what happened in those days compared to what happens these days in the modern world. And it's incredibly helpful to be a director of the whole growing up period, because rich with memories and feelings and what was done in those days that isn't done today. And Neil Simon writes it with that in mind. He knows it. He knows the period as well. So it's kind of like bringing to the audience how it really was. For example, money. Well, imagine that Stanley at one point loses his salary of $17 a week. Now that's for 7 people to live off of, along with the father, with Jack. But $17 today would probably be, I don't know, what, $500 maybe? You know what I'm saying? That it's so beautifully written, because it really speaks to that era, and the wonderful actors that I have. Honestly, such a beautiful cast. And Eugene talking to the audience tells them so much about that period, and it is very different.
Can you tell us which actors are in the play?
Oh, sure. Jack is Joe Martin, who has done, I don't know, I think about 4 or so plays at Pentacle and other theaters around. Beverly Freitas is Kate. She has been my student, taking my class. And this is her debut as an actor, and she's amazing. Tracy Weber is Blanche, who I've known for many, many years and have worked with Tracy in different capacities. And then, let's see, the kids are Stanley is Cameron Estes. He was also my student, and his debut was when I directed Rabbit Hole last year, and he played the young boy in that. In this role, he's Stanley. And then Molly Hare and Lillian Hare play the sisters. Molly has been in at least 32 shows in her 19 years of life. And one of the first was in Willy Wonka that I directed. She was 7. And then in 2014, she was Scout when I directed To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes,
and
I
now
remember.
she's 19. And she's Nora, playing a 16-year-old, but Molly looks any age you want it to look.
Yeah.
Lillian Hare, they're sisters. Lillian has not been in a play like this before. She's pretty new. So I've got very new people. And I'm so proud of all of them. And Porter has done a couple of shows through Howard Street School, and now he's in high school. He's a freshman in high school. He's the one that everyone will be amazed by.
That sounds like a terrific cast.
Oh, it's wonderful.
I can't think of a better way to kick off Pentacle's 70th anniversary season. It still kind of stuns me that Pentacle has been around for 70 years.
Unbelievable.
But this is going to be a great show.
Well, we're very excited, and God, it's such a labor of love, isn't that the saying? We're all in love.
Joe Dodge is director of Neil Simon's classic autobiographical comedy Brighton Beach Memoirs. It plays January 12th through February 3rd at the Pentacle Theatre. Evening performances are at 7:30 p.m. and Sunday matinees are at 2 p.m. Pentacle Theatre is about 6 miles west of downtown Salem off Highway 22 on 52nd Avenue. You can get tickets online at pentacletheatre.org or by calling 503-485-4300. Tickets are also available in person at the theater box office at 197 Liberty Street in downtown Salem, and at the door the day of the performance. Joe Dodge, thank you so much for joining us here on Theater Talk and Break a Leg with Brighton Beach Memoirs.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. It's time to wind up today's KMUZ Theater Talk program. Thank you for joining us. Next week at 9 a.m., you can tune in to Talking About Art with Joel Zach. KMUZ Theater Talk is a proud member of the Mid-Valley Theater Network.
KMUZ Theater Talk comes your way at 9 a.m. the first and third Friday of the month on your radio or smart speaker at 100.7 and 88.5 FM, and on your favorite radio app or streaming live at kmuz.org. You can also listen to our KMUZ Theater Talk programs anytime, wherever you get your podcasts.
Ed and I will return January 19th with a brand new KMUZ Theater Talk program. Meanwhile, check our Theater Talk Facebook page for news and updates about live theater in the Mid-Willamette Valley.
If you haven't yet joined in to support Theater Talk and the rest of KMUZ's great community radio programs, please head on over to kmuz.org right now and click the Contribute button at the top of the page. And thanks. And until next time,
We'll see you in the front row.